All right, hello again. This is Jeff Scott of Blackhawk Technical College. I've been going over the book, Sam's Teach Yourself Bootstrap in 24 Hours for the 152-158 Advanced Website Development class for the fall 2016 semester, and we're now on Chapter 14, the beginning of Part 3 of the book, using Bootstrap JavaScript Plugins. As you can see, we have 4 objectives here. We want to learn how to add Bootstrap JavaScript plugins, how to set options for those plugins, how to use the JavaScript API or Application Program Interface, and how to prevent common problems with Bootstrap plugins. As the author mentions here, in Part 2, we learned about CSS styles and components, but Bootstrap contains more than 10 JavaScript plugins that can be used. In this hour, we'll learn how to use those plugins as well as the API. And in the rest of Part 3, we'll learn more specifics about different plugins and how to use them. The first step to using any plugin, as it says, is to include the JavaScript file. Okay? There are 3 ways to include it. You can include the compiled minified version, the Bootstrap min.js. You can include the non-minified version. All right, or you can include only the plugin that you're looking for. Okay? Most of the time, I think people are going to use this one right here. Include the source once at the bottom of the document, just above the HTML tag. As it says, make sure it points to the right location. It's always best to use a minified file because it loads faster. Okay? All right. So they're saying a bottom of a Bootstrap document should have that in it. Okay? All right. Many of the plugins Bootstrap offers have options that allow you to do different things with them. The 2 ways you can include the options are to send them as parameters in a JavaScript method or to use the data attributes in HTML. Both of these methods work. Here's an example right now. All right. So what is it saying? Well, we've got an ID that's called example. We're going to set a tooltip for it. And we want there to be a 200 millisecond delay when the and the trigger as a click. All right, doesn't really tell very much, but let's take a look at what's in here. All right, now some of these that are in here are not going to be they're not complete examples, as you can see. All right, and kind of an FYI for you, I had a little time this morning, so I have gone in now. And I do have all the source code in for all 24 chapters. So here we're on Chapter 14. So there it is. All right, that's that first source code listing. Like I said, there's not really much to it. It's not put inside of an HTML page or anything. It's, for lack of better words, it's just there. All right. So data attributes should always be your first consideration when you use a Bootstrap plugin. They're easy to use and place the options right on the HTML element where basically you're going to be using the plugin. It says take a look at the example in listing 14.2. Says it's obvious the tooltip is assigned to the button because of the data toggle equal tooltip attribute. As you look closer, you'll see that the tooltip will have HTML results, a 200 millisecond delay, and is triggered by a click. All right. Problems with data attributes, you can only have 1 plugin per element. That's not exactly true, but as it says, if you can set options for 1 element at a time. Now, with this only 1 plugin per element, it says what you can do is you can wrap an element around the first element and attach a second element to that. So using that, you can basically put in just about as many elements as you want. Again, you can set the elements for options for only 1 element at a time. You cannot use complex JSON options and data attributes. All right. As mentioned here under the using the JavaScript API, which is on page 231 in the book. Bootstrap is designed to also allow JavaScript plugins through the JavaScript API. As it says, they have set up all the APIs as single chainable methods. You've seen this kind of thing before in the jQuery class. All Bootstrap methods except 3 parameters, or 3 values, nothing, an options object, and a string targeting some kind of a method. As it says, you'll learn more about these options in these following hours. Again, this is more or less, for lack of better words, this is kind of an intro chapter on the stuff that's going to be covered pretty much in the next 5 chapters after this. So there's not really a whole heck of a lot in this particular chapter. All right. If you need to access the raw constructor for a plugin, it's available in the constructor property. And as it says, you can use it to change the default settings for a plugin. This changes all the defaults to true, as you can see. Bootstrap provides custom events for most plugins. Here's an example right here. And again, we're going to go into these in more depth and breadth of coverage in later chapters. With no conflict, as it says, sometimes you might want to use Bootstrap with another UI framework. You might have two different methods or 2 different things in a library that have the same name. So if you want to get around that, you can set the no conflict on the plugin you want to revert to the value of. All right. You'll notice here Bootstrap does not support third-party libraries. Okay. All right. Disable JavaScript. You know about this already. You use the no script tags. So there wasn't really very much in here. So as it says, what if I don't want to use any plugins on my page? You don't have to. We haven't thus far. I'm concerned about the speed of downloading. Don't they make the pages take longer? Of course they do. But again, if you use the minified files, only the scripts you need, and put them at the bottom, you're going to be best off. As far as very quickly going over the quiz at the end of the chapter here on pages 234 through 236. Question 1, which of these is not a way to include a Bootstrap plugin? The answer is D, none of the above. Number 2, jQuery is an optional tool for using the Bootstrap plugins. False. Required. Number 3, what's the best way to add options to plugins? D, whatever works best for your page and your skills. Number 4, how are parameters written? The answer is C, as a JSON or JavaScript object notation array. Number 5, how do you add a data attribute? The answer is B, add an attribute called data minus star with the name of the data, that is data show, to the HTML tag. Number 6, in this HTML, what is setting the option to open the tooltip after the tag? The answer is B, data-delay equal 200. Number 7, is this a valid way to add a tooltip? The answer is yes. Number 8, what does this line of code do? The answer is B. It changes the tooltip placement default option to the bottom. Number 9, how do you return the version number of the drop-down plugin? The answer is C. And finally, number 10, how does Bootstrap handle a customer that doesn't have JavaScript? As it says, Bootstrap basically does nothing. Now, what you can do is, again, you can set up those no script tags. That's it for this first chapter. In the next chapter, we'll go over modal windows. And as you can see, as far as the other stuff that's in here, we'll cover, so we've covered using Bootstrap plugins. We'll go modal windows, the affix, tab, and scroll spy plugins, popovers, and tooltips. We'll look at some CSS type of transitions, button, alerts, progress bars using collapse and accordion, and end this with an actual building of a slide carousel. That's it for this chapter.